Welcome to Token Theater Friends. I'm Jose, and today I'm joined by Mamie Parris and Mauricio Martínez of Unmasked, the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber. So I love that. So for viewers and our listeners at home, can you describe what Unmasked is?
Yeah. Oh, you do this so well.
Yeah. We did interviews together, and I described it as a musical memoir. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, it shares a title with Andrew's book, his memoirs. They're called Unmasked, that he released a couple of years ago. And it's basically the story of the music of Andrew's work. You know, all of his musicals, how he created melodies, how he thought about stories to tell with lyricists that he worked at certain eras. And yeah, it's an inside look at how this mind, this wonderful, brilliant mind works when he creates music, which is what he does best. He's literally in front of a piano, taking us as the audience to a journey, and there's 10 singers on stage, Mamie and myself included, that help him tell that story.
I feel like if you are of a certain generation, there's no Broadway without. You think of Broadway, and you cannot not think of Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Oh yeah, especially contemporary Broadway. I mean, since the '80s, he's given us, I think, probably some of the biggest selling, most memorable musicals on Broadway. So anybody that came up in our generation or younger, it's just a part of the zeitgeist. It's part of the vernacular when you talk about Broadway.
So what was your first memory of, no pun intended, of Andrew Lloyd Webber?
My first memory, I'm from Mexico, so I grew up listening to Camilo Sesto, which is a very famous Spanish singer, pop singer, who he bought the rights to a Jesus Christ Superstar in Spain and did the world premiere Spanish production playing Jesus, but he released Gethsemane as a single too. And it was beautiful, and I remember listening to this song and going, wow, what a beautiful song. As a kid, I didn't know that it came from a show. Later in life, I put one and one together. I'm like, oh, this comes from a show, and it's the same guy that wrote Cats. I started to see Cats because there was a Mexican production in Mexico City, so I would see the commercials on TV. And then The Phantom, just as a teenager, I was like, oh, this is the guy that, and he's married to Sarah Brightman. I just started finding out more and more and more. And this was at the time where he was doing Sunset Boulevard, so he was at the top of his game. He was a superstar. And that's how I found out who he was. And I realized the brilliance in his work, Jesus, Joseph, Evita. And then I saw the movie Evita, and then I just lost it. I was like, oh wow, because Antonio Banderas really inspired me. I was like, oh, somebody like me can be in a show like that, in a movie like that. So that was it.
I would say my story's a little different. I grew up, I didn't really see a ton of, I saw some theater as a kid, but I didn't really know anything about musicals. My mom was a flight attendant, and one time, sometimes people would leave things on planes, and they'd call and they'd try to get it back, they'd put them in Lost and Found. After a certain amount of time, they were up for grabs, like Lost and Founds do. And she brought home one time a travel cassette holder, that's how long ago it was, that had 6 or 8 cassettes in it. And one, there were a 2 cassette set of the musical Cats. And I already liked theater, and I think at that point I had a record of a chorus line that we'd gotten at a garage sale for 25 cents or something. So I knew that I enjoyed that stuff. And then to have these cassettes, and I wore them out, and I loved it, and I used to dance around in the cavity in my room, and I don't know, it just kind of helped foster my love of theater, but I didn't learn anything about Andrew Lloyd Webber, probably till high school, when I started actually studying theater, because I went to an art school, and I'm sure we watched film of things and learned about Andrew Lloyd Webber then, but really it was Cats.
There you go. You were destined.
Yeah,
and it's so fascinating because I feel like in many ways his music is in our blood, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even, my brothers who are super butch and not interested in musicals at all, or Broadway or anything like that, they both love Memory.
Oh, really?
And when they found out it was, in Cats, they were like, a cat sings this?
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but you have to understand, they're like kind of personified, the cats. It's very complicated.
Well, there was a single too. I think Barbra Streisand was the one that
Yeah, she
recorded it
recorded
first.
it.
Like before even the musical came out. So he's also like a pop writer in a way, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because the songs, a lot of his songs that then became hits were released first as a single by a recording artist. And also Evita was an album before. So he's sort of like crossed over. I think he was the first one that made, like Lin-Manuel is doing the mixtape now with Hamilton and all that. I think Andrew Lloyd Webber was the father of that pop crossover world.
Even Jesus Christ, I think. Was
Yeah,
the
Jesus Christ
album.
Superstar was
Right.
strictly a rock album.
It was a rock
It was like Tommy's. I mean, it was like the Who's Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Strictly a rock concept album, and it didn't even occur to him in the beginning that it could be a stage show. And even when they started talking about it, you know, if you read in his memoir, he talks about how he was not sure it was going to work, and now it's like one of the most produced productions ever. But it really came out of just like kids in their, you know, basements jamming out to Jesus Christ Superstar. And I think that's something that a lot of young people in theater today don't realize, is that this genre that he kind of created in musical theater really stemmed from rock and from popular music, which I think is one of the ways that it makes it really unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've had, because I saw you in School of Rock and you were fantastic at
Oh,
that.
thanks.
And you've had,
Who did you see me as?
the girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As the
not
bitchy girlfriend.
Yeah. Who
Okay.
was, I loved her.
Oh my God,
I was like,
yeah.
because that guy was such a slacker.
You
but
have to
anyway.
have a villain, you know, and she's a fun villain, so.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. But
Yeah.
so you and Andrew go a long way back.
Yeah, I mean, a long way back to at least working together to 2015. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
And this was your first time meeting Andrew, right?
My first time meeting him, yes.
So can you talk about, you know, like what you're comfortable sharing and what wasn't, like a secret that you're like holding in your hearts forever?
Well, I was starstruck, you know, like we have a lot of people in common in our both our lives, but we had never officially met. But I mean, he's Andrew Lloyd Webber, so he's basically responsible for a lot of my musical theater adventures. You know, I played Jesus in Mexico. I did Evita, which is one of my favorite musicals of all time. My mother is obsessed with the Phantom of the Opera. So she wants me to be the first Latino Phantom on Broadway. She's like, when are you going to be the Phantom? So Andrew means a lot to my life. So meeting him was incredible, you know. I discovered somebody really funny, in a way shy, very into his work. But I discovered somebody very genuine also. I was carrying literally my phone on airplane mode, but I was like, I have him in front of me, so I'm gonna take some pictures. And I like.
Mal's good with this. He's good with the pictures.
Yeah.
Let's get a selfie.
And I just took some pictures of him working with his musical supervisor, a dear friend David, and I sent it to David, and he was like, I don't even have a picture like that. That's beautiful. And then Andrew posted the picture on social media. Just moments like that I go, I mean, this is a man that's a living legend, you know. So, and we're talking about his life, and he's here telling us a bit more about his adventures, and telling us how he wants it to sound, and giving us his time. So I think that's very generous, yeah, we're very fortunate. So it was good. It was brief. He came a couple of times, and. But we get to see him every night because he's right there, literally. So we get to see and
on a
listen.
big screen.
Yeah, we get to listen to him, and this is the most personal show of his because it's his life, his music.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was like for you because you got to create a part with him.
Yeah, that was really really cool. I mean, School of Rock was a unique experience, especially with the role that I originated. It was a role that, you know, the show is so much about the kids and the relationship with kids and the kids and Dewey, and the little love story that's there between Dewey and Rosalie. And so from the beginning, I don't think anybody would be averse to me saying that they really didn't know what to do with like my role. I think it was the kind of role that you have to have. You have to have a villain. You have to have somebody to ignite the process that's about to take place, you know, to start the plot rolling, but to instigate everything. But they really weren't sure where she fit in and what that meant for me in a good way. I mean, at times it was very frustrating because, every day things changed, and you have to, as an actor, go home and go, okay, this isn't me, right? This isn't my fault. And after a while you go, no, you're doing the work. It's just they have to figure out where it lives. But the great thing about it was I got to spend a lot of time with Andrew just singing. You know, I honestly think that process is really what led to Cats for me, because by the time we opened School of Rock, I'd sung everything under the sun for Andrew Lloyd Webber, you know. We had tried this and this key, and we tried doing this, and we tried, let's lift it, let's lower it, let's do this, let's start it and make it 8 bars, make it 16 bars. I mean, we had done so much to try to make that character work that I felt like we both got a good handle on who the other person was. And I feel one of the things I really enjoy about doing shows with Andrew is I feel like he knows what my voice is, and I feel like he trusts me, which is a crazy, incredible thing to say about Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. But it's really, it's cool that way. And so I definitely felt that coming into Unmasked. I felt so comfortable, and seeing him again felt so easy because we had spent some time in the trenches to an extent, you know. So I always appreciate it. I think he's absolutely an icon. It was so great to work with him on something original with School of Rock and see how, and even with this, but see how he's not overly precious with his work, which I think is something that would surprise a lot of people. That he, you know, if something's not working, he's ready to change it. He's ready to cut it. He's ready to try something else. He's, you know, I remember with School of Rock at one point, something wasn't quite working, or he wanted to try something, and he was like, come with me, and we went downstairs, because instead of a pit, we had like the band room. And we went down to the band room, and he's looking at the score, and he's talking to people, and he's like, what if we had 2 come off and add 1 to this line, and why don't you play this line, and let's, you know, and just completely reorchestrating right there in the room. Okay, try it from here. Okay, now take the F instead of the, okay, great. And it was just, it's cool to watch a composer live that freely with their work, allow it to evolve. And I feel like he's one of those very well-known, very famous composers that does that very well.
Yeah.
Show me there's a reason for you wanting me to die. You're far too keen on where and how, and not so hard on why.
And although and I say we, and I don't know how to sing, I'm not a performer or anything, but, you know, I'm totally like Evita in the shower. But,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we all know his music so well, and we all think that we're extremely familiar with it. But when you are deconstructing the songs with him, what were you most surprised to learn about? Maybe a song that you already thought you knew very well.
I mean, I mean, mine came from reading his book as opposed to working with him. So I don't know if that's quite the answer you're going for. But and he actually tells the story in Unmasked, which I think is so exciting for the audience. But there's a story in his book where he talks about when he was writing Evita, when he was coming up with the musical themes for Evita, and one of the things that was very inspiring to him in creating it was a memory of his from when he, I think, was still a teenager. And he saw Judy Garland in her very famous
I love that story.
Talk of the Town. You know this story. So now it's for everyone else this benefit.
Yes.
It's a great story.
So he saw Judy at this, you know, very famous concert, this venue, Talk of the Town, and she showed up very hours late. The audience was already raucous, was already upset. She came out and was either drunk or drugged, or she was slurring her words. Really not the entertainer that she had been, unfortunately, as terrible as it is, and started to sing the trolley song, and it was disaster, and it fell apart. And so he said he saw her go talk to the conductor, and the conductor started playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And as the audience kind of jeered and people were throwing things, she tried to sing this signature song for her and put on such a brave, happy face for a crowd that was so seriously, you know, against her at that point. And it was obvious to him. He mentions it differently in the book than he does in the film in Unmasked, where he talks about looking around at the audience and watching what was on stage and knowing, thrilled at the chance that he was simultaneously, and I'm completely shortchanging how it's written in the book, but he was simultaneously thrilled to be watching something so singular and yet heartbroken to be watching. It was like a train wreck. Like, it was just beautifully tragic, and you couldn't look away. And the reaction of the audience was a part of that, and that's what inspired him when he was writing Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. And from the moment I read that in the book, it's changed everything I know about that song. Because obviously that song is a beautiful song. And it's at a very important, poignant moment in the play, in Evita. And I've never sung it the same way again, and I never will. Because the idea of, you know, this larger than life, grand, flawed, strong, beaten, triumphant woman who's got this incredibly facile, tough facade and is crumbling like old concrete on the inside. Tells you everything you need to know about her pleading with her public, the people that created her. It's so of that Judy Garland vein. You created this. And by creating this the way you did, you simultaneously destroyed
yourself. Yeah.
You've destroyed it. Anyway, that was a long answer to your
no,
question.
but it's wonderful.
But it's so touching.
I'm with my jaw dropped. I'm like,
it's so incredible.
It was like, you know, it's like, all of this is like very, I don't know, like strange, like kismet I would call it, because just the night before I went to see Unmasked last week, I was just texting my friend who's like a huge musical guy, and I was telling him like, I love Don't Cry for Me, Argentina so much, but I don't know what it's about.
And
then there was my answer.
Yeah.
And now you told everyone about it, so thank
And
you
it's
so much
so
for sharing.
cool. In this show, you know, I get to walk out and I watch him tell an abbreviated version of that story every night in front of me to 1,200 people behind me before I turn around and sing it. And when am I ever going to be in a position to be in a show where I get that before I sing the song? You know, it's pretty incredible.
What about for you? Like, did you learn anything about, like, maybe like a key or something? Or
well, a lot. I mean, not a key, but I mean, I got to realize that he's a human being. He makes fun of himself.
Yeah.
He a lot, and I like that humor. It makes him real. I'm like that too. So when I relate to that, I'm like, oh, I like that. But I found somebody just very passionate with his work, and somebody who's a perfectionist, and who's not afraid to show how what a perfectionist he is. But he's just in love with music, really, really in love with music. I found somebody very knowledgeable. He tells a story that I didn't know about the variation that he does of Paganini, and how if you transpose it to the major key and then invert it, that's what people get. He calls it mathematics in music. I love that because it's so true. Music is mathematics. So he's almost like a scientist in music. And when I saw that, I was like, wow. Nobody would have told me that. If you invert it, it's da 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 da. I was like, wow. So that just defines what kind of genius he is, and I love that. Like that just comes to show why his music is grand and beautiful. But it also explains how, oh, this one sounds like this every now and then, and it's like, but it's true because that's music. Even in his music, we're in the wings singing for Requiem that Alex is singing beautifully, and every time I go to Mamie or to Rima, I'm like, this sounds like wishing you were somehow here again, a little bit, and I go, and you go, yeah, but and it's like. Yeah, that's beautiful though, because it's part of him, and he shows. It's like my mom's a painter, for example, and whenever she paints a face, all the faces in a way look similar. It may be the Lady of Guadalupe, or it may be a woman, I don't know, giving a birth or whatever, but the faces have something that made me think, oh, that's the face that my mother paints. So that's what Andrew's music is. It has a stamp. It has a signature.
Right, he's like a mad scientist who's also a painter.
Yeah, you know. So, and I like that because it's very genuine and it's very who he is. His music is bigger than life.
So what's like your favorite? Because like when I was sitting at Unmasked, I was 6 years old during the Barcelona Olympics, so I don't remember. I don't remember.
What do you
Friends
mean? You
Forever.
don't sing that in your shower every day?
I didn't remember that song, and I was like, "Oh, this song is so beautiful," and I immediately downloaded it. So, what's like your favorite like Andrew Lloyd Webber like deep cut that you wish more people would pay attention to?
Oh, the deep cuts. Well, that was a hit in Mexico because Jose Carreras is huge
Right.
in Mexico. So when he talks about it not being a hit in America, I always tell the cast, well, it was a hit in Mexico. Like I know the song. Like I know the song, you know. But because of the Olympics and everything. But there's all his most famous ones are great, but there's one song from that I didn't know that is called Till I Hear You Sing. I didn't know it.
It's from Love Never Dies.
From Never Dies, which is the sequel to Phantom. That's a beautiful song. Whenever Bronson sings it, I'm like, wow, that's just a beautiful song. I think it's one of his most beautiful songs ever written, I think. But I think that's it for me, because the rest are pretty famous. Like, I think he's the most famous composer. Like, because his tunes are, I respect other, I love Sondheim and I love other composers, but Andrew has this quality of, he knows how to write hummable tunes. That's why his shows are so commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows how to create a hook, a musical hook. You leave the theater and you're humming at least one or two songs.
In this library, where night is blind, the phantom of the opera is here inside my mind.
Say I have a newfound appreciation, because when I knew I was doing Unmasked, like we're all familiar with so many Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff, but I was like, I wanted to get to know the because we didn't know what was in the show.
No.
I was like, I better familiarize myself with all the stuff I'm not as familiar with. So I kind of listened to everything, and man, the cast album for Starlight Express still pops. Like, it's still cute.
Yes.
And it's cute in this fun, like, 80s way, like that AC/DC. Do you know what song I'm
Yes.
talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It's like AC. It's so spooky and weird, and I'm like, I'm so into this.
So good, yeah.
So I've listened to Starlight Express like more than a few times since we did this. So I've really come to enjoy that. And I'm like, why don't we, come on, nostalgia, let's produce that stuff. There were
Yeah.
roller skates.
Yeah.
They race around the theater. That sounds awesome. But I love that. And then similarly, there's another song from Love Never Dies that Christine sings.
Yeah, Love Never Dies.
Called Love Never Dies, the title song.
Oh.
And when I listened to it, because that was another one I was not familiar with at all, and so I was listening to it in my car when I was driving, and I was like, let's get to know this piece. And it's a beautiful song.
Beautiful.
And Sierra Boggess, who I worked with on School of Rock and is lovely, sings it on the cast recording for Love Never Dies, and it's like, she sounds fabulous. Like,
Right.
fucking awesome. And the song is so glorious, and Alyssa, who sings it in our show every night, sounds beautiful. It's just a lovely showcase for a beautiful singer. The tune is beautiful. It's very, I don't know, it gives me Puccini vibes. Like, it's just lovely and glorious, and you're so rewarded at the end musically. It's just a lovely, lovely piece. So that's one of my new favorites.
Yeah, and I love Sunset Boulevard, but I've never really paid that much attention to, I'm not sure if it's I think it's the entr'acte, which they play.
It's the car chase.
The car chase. Oh my god, it's just genius. Like, what a beautiful piece of music. And Sunset Boulevard, also, I'm like, wow, people should really know this more.
Yeah.
Because Sunset Boulevard is so elegant and so grand and so dramatic and so it's like a Hitchcock film in a way.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I always think, I share a dressing room with Jeremy, who sings the title song, and I always tell him, da 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 da. I'm like, it's just so like it's
grand.
It's grand. I did telenovelas for 10 years for a living. I'm like, it's a telenovela. It's a melodrama, and I love it. Like, it's so
Wind
rich
machine.
and so dramatic and so over the top, but in a beautiful way.
Well, and the lyrics for that are so great.
Yeah, Sunset Boulevard.
That's Don Black, right? Just gorgeous. Yeah.
It's one of the few times that I go, oh man, I wish I was a woman so I could be Norma Desmond. Jesus,
It's really one of the few
the
times.
songs.
Really, Mel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just teasing.
I want you to do
Norma Desmond.
You should do like you play Joe, he plays Norma.
Norma
I love that.
Desmond,
Let's
man.
twist it
Jesus.
up. Let's just change things.
What a
change the
character!
genders up.
It's just like
Oh, it's incredible.
it's one of the best characters ever.
I really love Mauricio that you mentioned how memorable his melodies are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw, I think I'm one of the only people out there who genuinely loved the Cats movie.
Oh,
That's so great.
I loved it. I
Oh my
had
God.
such a great time. And
That's so great.
yeah, and one of the reasons why I think is because it proved something that I've always maintained, and it's that people who think they don't like musicals or their musicals are not for them, Andrew Lloyd Webber changes their mind. And the second time I went to see it at the movies, there was this magical thing that happened, and it was, I think by then, because people, it got like such bad reviews.
yeah.
and
I think what
Yeah.
happens with the movie was social media destroyed it.
Yeah.
Like Twitter just
Decimated.
really.
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like memes and like everything.
Yeah.
But when I went to see it, I think that by the time I went to see it, it was like, a little bit after the holidays. By the time I went to see it, people showed up and it was like very performative. What they would do, they would like yell and
Oh
cheer
yeah.
and like
it's like when you see
scream.
Rocky Horror
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah, but they would just do that out of like, out of like being like cynical and like jaded
Oh,
and like,
that's
let's go
funny.
make fun of the Cats. But I was sitting there and I was like having a blast. And I was sitting there and there was this row of teenagers who had spent the entire movie just like making fun and like throwing popcorn and just like, being very annoying, to be honest.
How dare they throw popcorn at Judi Dench?
I know, right?
She can take it. She's tough. She's tough broad.
Yeah. But there was this moment when the Mr. Mistopheles song started, and suddenly the teenagers, one by one, started humming and then singing the song, and then the entire theater joined in a Mr. Mistopheles sing-along.
Oh yay!
And from that moment on, unfortunately, it was like very near the end of the movie, right?
Yeah.
But from that moment on, those kids who had made fun of the thing so far,
They won them over. It won them over.
yeah, like
I
They were
think
having a great
I have a
time.
theory, and it's funny that you mentioned Rocky Horror because I have a theory that movie in like 10 or 15 years is gonna become a cult classic.
Oh, yeah.
And people are gonna be showing it in screenings and singing along and dressed as cats.
I mean, come
And
on.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many moments in it that are just, it's ready for that. I agree.
I have a very close friend that's English, and she went to see it. And I was like, so what did you think of the movie? And she's like, it's bonkers.
it's insane.
And that's what it is. It's like, it is bonkers.
There were so
But
many moments that I was
Cats is
just
bonkers.
like, what?
Like I always tell people, but it's cats. Like it's always been weird. Like it's
That's the thing. I
it's singing
honestly,
cats.
that's what I was hoping for with the film. Like before I saw it, I was like, I just hope it really is bizarre because
Yeah.
I think people forget because Cats became such an iconic piece of theater that everybody knows. Whether you love it, you hate it, everybody knows it. So it's not at all surprising and new anymore. And if you think about when it began, like it had to be the most avant-garde piece of theater
Oh yeah.
in decades. It's like people dressed as cats
In
reciting poetry.
And singing and
I
dancing.
mean, it's the most like stonerific, amazing, out there thing. So I was like, it really is only going to make sense if the movie is crazy.
It's insane.
And it
yeah.
doesn't, it's crazy.
It's like an experimental show that
Yeah.
made it to Broadway somehow.
Yeah, it's the kind of movie that I think Cats probably was to the first people that saw it. Like, you don't really know if you're high. You're like, did I take something and forget? That's how I felt
Well,
watching the movie. I
Did you
was
know
like,
there was
I
an
don't think I
animated
took
film in the makes back in the 90s?
Oh.
Look on social media. If you look for it, there's like even some sketches and drawings. But I think it was Miramax or like.
Oh, really?
And they one company but they stopped it, and it was going to be an animated film.
That's insane.
That'd
with
be
voices,
awesome.
yeah.
I'd be into that.
Well, this is like kind of like half animated. I guess, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's seriously.
yeah,
That's
right.
the weirdest part about it,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
That's what
I don't
makes
know
it
what's
weird.
real and what's not real. The hand.
That's what made.
But isn't that like the magic of theater itself?
I didn't like
yeah,
the
but
roaches.
This is the thing
Oh, that's
about
gross.
like
I didn't like the
won't pick
roaches.
yeah, and I won't pick it apart because there are plenty of opinions out there. But like we work so hard in the show where you're cats, but you're humans, but
Yeah.
you're like everything you
Yeah,
do, you
paws.
have paws. And this film, nobody had a paw. They were all
Yeah.
like
Well, Judi
hands,
Dench has
and I
a
was
ring.
like, I don't understand what's
Judi
happening.
Dench has her wedding ring. Yeah.
Just make a paw. Come on, guys, make
Yeah.
a paw. That's
You know
all.
what I felt? You know what I felt? Full disclosure, I was like, they needed more time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I read somewhere that the director, Tom Hooper, in the opening night, I think, he was giving an interview and he said that he had turned it in literally a day before. Like,
I'm
like,
not gonna say it looked like it,
Yeah,
but,
it-
I'm not gonna not say it looked
I think
like
they
it.
needed more time. They should have released it like in the summer of 2020, like so they could have more time.
Yeah.
I think that, but
I have lots
What
of
do I know?
opinions, but I won't
Yeah.
discuss them publicly.
I don't.
That's fair.
But I'm such a huge fan of cats, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
same here.
general.
Because like what I did love from the movie, and I think like everyone who gets to see the movie would agree. I hope is that you can see that everyone who was doing the movie was having a blast.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I mean,
And,
how can
yeah.
you not?
And you know what I appreciated too? Some people might not agree, but I liked that because a lot of people that have seen Cats are like, there's even a famous phrase that's, I think it was Hal Prince or Andrew who said it's about cats. Like nobody knows what it's about. And in the film version, which is a different take, there's actually scenes and texts. And they explain sort of what it's about.
Oh, you liked that?
I liked it.
I didn't like that.
Because I think the new generations like need that. Like
No, I don't
I
think they
think,
need
but
that.
that's me.
That's me.
Yeah.
We all agreed to
But you've done it,
disagree.
I've never done it, so there
I
you
just
go.
don't. I don't like. There have been a couple of things recently, and I won't name names. Productions of things where they've
Yeah.
added dialogue to try to explain, and I just feel like you don't have to dumb it down for your audience. Like they'll
Yeah.
figure it out. Like you figure it out. I don't know. That's just
Yeah.
me. But
It is weird, but I've heard.
But I
also
love
read,
your beautiful mind.
I read an article that says that people are taking edibles before they see it. I love that.
Absolutely.
Like,
I
just have fun and
recommend
watch
that.
it.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I highly recommend that.
Why
I'm not
not?
sure if I'm allowed to say that. I can't remember, but I highly recommend that.
It's legal in
Hey,
some
yeah.
places.
They're gummies.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll pretend I saw it
we're
in Colorado.
talking about. There you
There
go. There you go. Colorado, California.
When you played Grisabella, you I don't know if it's like a world record or something like that, but I don't think anyone's done it since you did it. But you were the first performer who does the big
The
moment.
climatic
Yeah.
moment. We call her One Breath Mamie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you accomplished that so beautifully. And I read that
you.
most performers need 3 breaths, and you did it in 1. So, hats off to you.
Aw,
and I'm
thanks.
sure you're like a great scuba diver and snorkel.
You would think. I'm terrible at snorkeling. I can't figure out the whole you have to breathe through your mouth thing. It makes me feel like the walls are closing in.
Oh God.
I'm terrible at it. You'd think I'd be better.
But what I want to, I want to ask you about something because I noticed the two of you specifically in Unmasked. I was in such awe because, this is you're doing songs from different shows, and it's not in chronological order, and it's just like a medley in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But every time the two of you sang a song, I felt the show. I felt like you were
Oh, good.
doing the show.
Thanks,
And
yeah.
how do you do that? How is it easy for you to be doing? I guess
I think a show like this, I before I did this show, I did another review off Broadway of Maurice Yeston music, and that was one of the questions we kind of would get asked at the talkbacks is how is this different from doing a book musical? And in a way, it's a challenge, but also kind of a gift to strip everything away. It's almost like you do when you're studying, when you're in class, and you simply present a monologue or a song, and you have to get to that place, no matter what you've done before. I could have been singing Evita one moment, and then it's Cats, and then it's this, and then it's Joseph, and then. But you, as an actor, it's your job to step through that invisible door and be in that other world. So it's actually,
I love
think
it.
really, it's really fun to be
It's
able
a different
to
genres. Different.
throw off the jacket and put on another jacket.
Like I'm singing Gethsemane one moment, like belting and crying and so emotional, playing Jesus in a way, and then I'm Rum Tum Tugger.
Yeah.
Like just dancing and being flirtatious and silly, like a kid. So I love that.
Yeah.
I do love that because you don't get that opportunity so often in shows, other than the shows that you create for yourself, like my concerts. Like, but that's this is a specific, very specific type of show where she's singing memory and then she's Evita. I love that.
Yeah.
Because you have to be like a chameleon in a way.
And it encourages you, in this kind of situation, and we're not in costumes, and you're not in physically in the world of the play, so you have to bring all that to your performance. There's, other than you've got lighting, you've got this wonderful music behind you, but there's nothing else telling you that you're on the balcony of the Casa Rosada except me singing Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. So it's my job to create the world in front of me. And that's genuinely one of the most exciting things I get to do as an actor in any show. So to be given that gift of a blank canvas and allowed to paint on it as an actor any way that I choose every night is, I think, really, really great.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, we have only 8 musicians. It sounds like we
Oh my
have
God, it sounds
40.
so full.
Oh wow.
It sounds like
Can
we
you
have
believe it?
I thought that was like a whole.
I
And I
know.
was there.
8.
8.
8.
Wow.
But the
They're just that
orchestrations are written for 8 because they want to tour with it. They want to make it simple. It wouldn't be as easy if there was like a 25-piece orchestra to travel or whatever. But it sounds like the Sunset Boulevard, the Phantom of the Opera. I go, wow! It sounds like a whole string section is there.
It's so full.
That's amazing to me. It boggles my mind. I literally stand in the wings and look at them when I have a chance, and I go, wow! There's only 8 musicians, and it sounds like a full orchestra.
Wow.
So that's also another like kudos because it sounds like we have a full-on philharmonic every now and
It's
then.
really true, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite moments, I think, in any song is near the end of Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, the little flute notes.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, where are the flutes?
I know, it's just,
But they were there. So
Yeah.
like, wow.
And the harp.
Yeah.
That song is famous for the harp also. It won't be. Dum, dum, dum. It's just
it's
so.
musicalized subtext.
Tell
It's
them
so rich.
how what I do whenever Evita would come in rehearsals. I would be sleeping on the floor, and if Evita comes on, I would just stand like, oh, Evita. I just love Evita
It's your happy
so much.
place.
It's my happy place.
It's your happy
Total
place.
descamisado.
I love Evita. Yeah, it's just perfect. It's such a beautiful musical.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up, let's dream about your next Andrew Lloyd Webber role. Like, what do you want to? Who do you want to play next?
I think she should be Norma Desmond in like 10 years.
Sure. I appreciate that you added in 10 years on
Yeah.
lessons. Thank God.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
because I think she would kill that role.
I've always wanted to play Evita, but I don't know that I'll get
We're
the
gonna do a
opportunity
concert.
now. Yeah, we'll do a concert.
Because she always like, but I'm not Latina. I'm like, I don't care. I approve. I approve.
I'm like, Mal, I love you. I don't think it's up to you. But, yeah.
She kills the pronunciation too.
Oh, you're so kind.
She says Buenos Aires,
I've got a good coach.
Rio de la Plata. Phantom. I want to be Phantom. It's more. I mean, I love this show, but I really want to. I would love to give that present to my mother.
Oh.
I would love her to be the mother of the Phantom. She would. I mean, I think that would be like the cherry on the top. We'll see. And there hasn't been a Latino Phantom on Broadway, so.
So let's make it happen.
Andrew, come on.
Would you like to invite our viewers and listeners to go see Unmasked at Paper Mill Playhouse?
Yes.
Please come see us. We got a couple more weeks.
Until March
So
1st,
fun.
Paper Mill Playhouse. There's still some tickets available, and it's a wonderful cast. It's the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber, and it's funny, it's endearing, it's
A lot of fun.
You have to hear him sing Gethsemane.
you gotta
Yeah.
hear
Oh
this
my
one.
Oh, it's
Memory
incredible.
and the cast. I mean, we have
Yeah.
some serious great. Rima singing Norma
Oh,
Desmond.
it's just everybody's
Jeremy
heavenly.
singing, like it's everybody. Bron's the guy that does
Oh.
Phantom. It's like
Heavenly.
like touched by the gods. Alyssa, Alex, all of them. They really are
Mm-hmm.
an amazing cast. Angel Lozada and David, who are dancers and understudies and swings and dance captains. They do it all. Also, we even have a sort of like a dancer musician that is carried and plays what's the
If
instrument?
you've
she plays?
ever wanted
The
to
cello.
see anybody play the cello upside
Oof.
down, this would be your opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Cirque du Soleil. Like,
It's kind of
I was like, how are they
amazing.
doing this?
And it's
Yeah.
also like I always say it always like I've been doing it for a year. No, I mean the past 2 weeks they were like, what is it? I'm like, well, you get 2 shows for the price of 1. You get a documentary of Andrew talking about his music,
Yeah.
which is just like turning on a Netflix documentary or whatever, and a concert with great voices singing his music. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's also like a master class, I guess,
Yes.
if you're a performer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So go to Unmasked.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. And Mauricio, this is the 3rd year that we've been doing Token Theater Friends, and you are our very first repeat guest.
Oh wow! Thank you.
Courtesy of TCG. We have
Yay!
one play for
wow.
each year that we've been doing the show.
Oh my
awesome.
goodness!
Maybe next time you come on the show, we'll
Oh,
bring you some
wow.
plays.
I want 4. I'm just
I
kidding.
love it. Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you, token friends. The open house. Oh wow!
And
I love
He's
this.
gonna be busy reading.
Yes,
I love it.
I
Thank
love
you.
reading plays.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
This is
Thank you so
great.
much.
Thank you. And remember, theater is more fun when you bring a friend or two.
Yes,
Bye.
and ask them over again.